Hi, today's topic is about grief and loss, suffering. There's a lot of that going on lately. This is the holiday season and people are going through a hard time. It's been a lot of difficulties. There's war happening right now, change in government. People are going through hard times with money. And there's been loss. People have had loss in the family. And today's topic is really going to be about grief, sadness, and despair, and how to address it. And I think the first go-to when people are going through a hard time is to maybe get into an addictive pattern, drink more, drown it with alcohol, get into pot smoking, or if it's a subtle upset or a subtle problem in their life, they just have other issues like other addictive patterns, which might be shopping addictions, porn addictions, eating addictions, junk food addictions, or they try to resolve their difficulties by, going to the therapist or the psychologist, which might reduce some of the difficulties, the physical, anguish that people go through because you're with a friend, you're with somebody that's listening to you, but everything that happens is a much deeper problem. When people go through a loss, they're suffering, they're in despair, somebody died in the family, there was a breakup. Those things, they affect people at a really deep level. It's at a survival-based level. It's like it rocks you to the core. And, there's even people in my own family that are really lost. I have people in my family that have not really ever really recovered. And unfortunately, they don't really, are not open-minded to things like what I do. And so for the people that are listening today that are open-minded, I'm going to give you 4 solutions, each one progressively more intense. And I want to post this video on some of the forums on Facebook because there's a lot of people on there that are suffering. And I've offered some of this to other people, and most people think I'm crazy. They think that the psychological method or talk therapy is going to help them, and it's not. They think maybe, socializing, getting with a friend, hanging out with a family member, those things help. Obviously, they keep you from really falling into a deep depression, but the resolution has got to be done internally. It's got to be done at the mental emotional level, at the spiritual level, and at the neuropathical. It has to be done at the nerve level, at the energetic level. Let's put it at that. And there's 4 ways to do it. And these ways are going to work in seconds. Whatever sadness, crying, despair, loss that you feel, the anguish that you feel, the difficulty breathing, the pain in your gut, the sleeplessness, the restlessness, the tension in your neck and back will go away in like 30 seconds. And the first way to do it, which is going to work ideally if the emotional upset is at a more minor level, and each remedy that I'm going to talk about today is going to progress to higher degrees of how bad something is. The first degree or the first level of resolving anguish and loss and grief is going to be understanding where to find the meridians that stuff resides in. It's going to go to certain meridians. In other words, there are nerves. What you believe in your mind and what you remember as these thoughts, they become emotions, and emotions go to your organs. There's a circuit for grief, loss, anguish, heartbreak, despair. They're all on a big circuit. They're on this circuit. If you look at this chart right here that I made, this is a chart that I designed. Everything on the left are basically the organs involved, and everything on the middle and the right are the feelings and the states of emotions that people have. And what's in the middle is the remedy, is the pressure points that you go to There's a whole training series that I do to step through Meridian tapping. It can be also looked up on tons of other videos on YouTube. They have it as, it's written in a book called Freedom from Fear Forever. Dr. Durlacher writes that. There's EFT, emotional freedom technique. They're all very similar. They all address pressure points on the face or on the hands. But the biggest, though, the most effective technique that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of techniques over 20 years, is to do a muscle response test and find out exactly what you're feeling, what the original event was, because usually when things are really intense, it's because it happened in the past and you're re-experiencing, and it's even worse to re-experience it in the present. You got to go back, kind of time travel, and get the original event. You might have had a loss in your 40s and 50s, like your partner passed away, or you had a breakup or a divorce or something. But it probably stems back to a breakup that you had when you were in college. Or it goes all the way back to being humiliated, or a breakup when you were in high school. Each time it happened, progressively becomes more intense. But you can find it on the group of circuits, and my training material teaches how to do that. And it gives you this document that I'm showing you here. And for those people that are really suffering, Meridian tapping is probably not going to make it, because they're not emotionally and psychologically stressed just at the acupuncture level. They are broken at the spiritual level. And when you have a broken spirit, tapping on your face is not going to do it. It's just not enough. It's going to maybe reduce the tension in your muscles. It might settle your nerves, we say, but it's not going to fix your spirit. And when you have a broken spirit, you got to move up to a higher degree of resolution, which might be doing basically activation, a reversing of your field. Energy flows basically up your spine, and it goes over your head and back forward. If you reverse that field, you could do A.C.T. A.C.T. stands for Affirmation Correction Technique. That's basically what Dr. Fox and I named it. But it's basically not a whole lot different than a lot of other meridian activation techniques. There's a lot of them out there, and they work really well. And the affirmation, or the expression, or the verbal command that is given is so critical, because just activating your nervous system is not going to be enough in most cases. You have to verbally state what your subconscious needs to do and what your spirit needs to do, so that it can follow a new standard. And that new standard has to involve activating your pressure points on your face. In other words, there's a pressure point that you touch the back of your hand, and there's two here at the same time. That's called chronic. The chronic mode means that it happened again and again and again. You had a loss, you had a breakup, something happened when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, but it happened originally maybe back when you were in high school, or a couple more times during college, and it's happened chronically in your life. And so the intensity of why it feels so uncomfortable now is because you've experienced it repeatedly, and it's basically traumatized you. So it's like, how many times can you get in a car wreck before another car hits you, and it's really devastating on your nervous system. And so the activation of your meridians may not be enough, and doing the A.C.T. protocol is going to be the next level up. A.C.T. repairs things at a spiritual level. It reassembles fragmentations of the spirit. It repairs systems that we call your metaphysics. Metaphysics is going to be like your operating system. People have an operating system, and you got to have that working. If that doesn't work, you're going to feel out of your body. You're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to have restlessness, sleeplessness, shaky hands, extreme fatigue. That's abnormal. extreme fatigue, like you don't know why, but you feel like your legs and arms are heavy, and it's almost like a state of anemia. And a lot of times people will show that they're not anemic in a blood test, but when you do the acupuncture-based anemia test, it will show, because it's energetic. It's at the energetic level. It's not at the chemistry level. It is at a communication level between your cells and your organs and glands. The next step, if these two protocols or these two processes of healing emotional loss and grief don't work, you might need to move up to using a homeopathic. Crying, sadness, grief, the best homeopathic for that is Ignatia. Here it is on a website. All you do is get these tablets. They're extremely inexpensive. Get them at Whole Foods. You can order them online. You might want to start at a softer, more low level. And you want to avoid mixing homeopathics. Don't take homeopathics if you're already on a homeopathics, because you start mixing stuff, you really can do harm to yourself. Start with being neutral, or go to a homeopathic expert and find out how to do this properly. If you've never taken homeopathics, that's the best place to be, because your body is going to be open to receiving it. If you've been doing a lot of homeopathics, you may need to clear all of that and calm it down with sulfur, and look up how to do that. But this video is really just for people that maybe have never tried this before. So Ignatia is designed for grief and loss and crying, for things that are really painful, heartbreak, despair. This is the tincture. You can buy these bottles for really cheap. You can get them in the 10-pack or whatever. They're usually, $1 or $2. Basically, what is in here is water and a little bit of vodka, about half and half. You can buy cheap vodka and use that, whatever is very clean. You need a system of delivery into your cells. So the way the tincture works is that you put 1 drop under your tongue, and the alcohol delivers it into your blood quickly. The water is a stimulator of boosting the potency of the homeopathic. You'll take a homeopathic tablet, you'll put it in the tincture, you'll add the half water alcohol mix, you'll let it dissolve for a few hours, and then you will have Ignatia. Ignatia is going to be the remedy for grief and loss. What you'll want to do is you'll want to make the remedy, and what you can do is you can get a book or anything hard and you're going to strike it. What that does is it boosts the intensity of the remedy. If you're starting with 30C, you hit it on a book, it's going to go to 31. And then you do it again next day, it's going to be 32. Because your body, the human body, doesn't respond to the same exact remedy and the same exact all the time. It needs to have a little bit stronger, because the body adapts. A lot of times though, if you get the right remedy and the right potency, your grief, despair, and loss will be mostly gone within just a few days of doing this. But each day that you do it, you want to strike the remedy on a hard book or something that doesn't break the glass, obviously, but like a hard, something that's firm but not going to break the glass. That will raise the potency. You put 1 drop under the tongue, and you'll want to do this when you haven't eaten in the last hour or 2. You want to do it in between meals. And you'll want to wait for the effects to happen for at least 20 or 30 minutes and before you go and eat. So do it in between meals and avoid canceling out the remedy. Things that cancel out the remedy would be menthol and coffee. Those things pretty much cancel most homeopathic remedies. So if you're drinking menthol-based, fluids, if you're drinking coffee a lot, it's going to neutralize the effect of the homeopathic or whatever other homeopathic you're using. So if that doesn't solve your despair and anguish, you're going to want to move up to the fourth level, which is autopathy. Autopathy is where you make a tincture, but you don't put a tablet in it. You make the tincture, and then you're going to put it in your highest chakra above your head. And the energy of that chakra is going to go into the water. And then you're going to boost the power of that. The water is an amazing thing. Water absorbs emotions and it absorbs energy. And that's why it works with homeopathics. When you put the energy of your highest chakra into the water and then you boost that, you can resolve a lot of emotional problems. There's videos on how to do that, but that's kind of more complicated. For most people that are going through suffering, loss, breakups, crying, despair, they're really, really heavy. You can resolve it even just with the first two techniques. Most of the time I start with the magnetic technique, which is A.C.T. We have very specific protocols for sadness and grief on our lessons that we have on our website. And it's going to be way more simple because all the things that people suffer from, it doesn't matter if it's anger issues, addiction issues, loss, grief, despair issues, any deep emotion, negative programming, fear, phobia, all of those things are just all in your nervous system, in your mind and in your nerves. They can be reversed, and this has been solved decades ago. All of this, all these ways that people are still following drugs, alcohol, and therapy is the no-win solution. Therapy is not going to help you when you're in a deep amount of emotional states. They are going to give you drugs and they're going to intoxicate you, and eventually you're going to be reliant on drugs, which is why there's so many people messed up in this world. Go into Los Angeles, go into San Francisco. There's like homeless people everywhere because they have fallen into a pattern of addiction, taking drugs and getting into more intense drugs because they're masking their anguish and their loss and their grief and whatever emotional troubles they've had from abuse and problems in their family, problems in their childhood, problems with, relationships they've had, loss of their house, loss of their career. All of these things are so intensely experienced. But you can go and solve a lot of this stuff with these techniques, and I've seen it work. And there's a ton of people on my website that have spoken about how well it works. And in fact, some of my biggest clients or some of the most common people that come to me are people that have their PhD in something. They're either psychologists, they're chiropractors, they're medical people that they don't know what to do because they have been trained to use drugs, surgery, and talk therapy, which is a model that's probably 200 and 300 years old now. It's not designed for that. Those models and those those methods are for sick care. Sick care meaning that you got hit by a bus and you're physically damaged. That's when you go in and use those modalities. But for everyday things like suffering, anger, addictions, loss, fear, dread, a lot of these things are all on these circuits, and they're all on this chart right here. Every circuit connects together. A circuit can affect those very specific glands and organs. When you're going through loss and suffering and grief, they're going to affect your lungs, your small intestines, and your glands, including your thyroid, your pituitary, your sex glands. Why do you think it is that people have vivid dreaming? Because it's all in their glands. Their glands are all messed up now. Why do you think people have sexual dysfunctions? Because it's all on the same circuit. Sexual dysfunctions could be things like sex addiction, which would be like feeling very sexual, or the opposite problem, which is like you're just shut down and you can't experience intimacy anymore because you're afraid of intimacy, or intimacy is a problem now, which ruins marriages, it ruins relationships, and it causes more and more loss. It is the cause of more problems, and the original event just exacerbates an additional event in the future, and then it affects the people you're with, because your tragedy spreads to other people. And my goal in doing the 5 neo philosophies is to end that cycle. It's a cycle of destruction. People have a cycle of ruining other people with their stuff. And I'm here to end that. I've seen it happen. I've seen the resolution. I've seen people reverse. They've changed their lives. I've seen people have come to me repeatedly making bad decisions in their relationships, in their careers, with their health. And they've gone through numerous improvements that have just really helped them. I've seen people go into having normal, healthy relationships. I've seen people that were so imbalanced that they couldn't have a second child, and then when we resolved all these imbalances in their body, they were able to get pregnant with their husband again. Doctors have come to me with pain, tension, sabotage programs, and they were therapists. They did therapy. They were, following their own model, which wasn't helping them. And when we went into doing these techniques, this stuff heals people at a physical, chemical, emotional, and spiritual level. All 4 at the same time. And it does it in 30 seconds. I really hope that you'll at least try one of these remedies. If you have a question, I want you to reach out to me. If you have a specific request that I didn't cover on any of my videos, like what do I do if I have this problem? What do I do if I feel this feeling, this concern? How do I address that? I will make a video and show you, because nearly everything has a solution. And there's even a video on that. I made a video that nearly everything has been resolved decades ago, which is something to rejoice. It is something to celebrate. So reach out to me, let me know how I can help you. I hope this video was a benefit for you, and I'll see you next time.